biggest thing about AN fittings or Army-Navy fittings is they're reusable, or they're removable. You can put them on, put them back, take them off, put them on, take them off. The old, national pipe thread standards, which a lot of stuff in aviation is, probably the majority of stuff in older aircraft especially. And then there's other types of fittings, but AN are definitely my favorite. And they're what they use in all the Formula One race cars and stuff. And just about anybody that's doing a custom fuel or oil setup will use AN fittings. They're self-sealing, so it's just a tube and flare basically, but it's threaded. These particular ones are made to use with a special type of hose. This actually is a stainless steel, and they swivel, but this is a stainless steel armored hose with a nylon sheath, and it can handle ethanol in the fuel. But these are fairly light. I used to use just double braided stainless steel, but anywhere inside of stuff where it's not high heat, this nylon sheath is really nice because on wiring and stuff it doesn't chafe, but you're not getting through this stainless steel braid. It is insanely tough. You can't hardly cut through it with a Dremel tool. So there's no point in having double walled braided stainless steel lines. But they also don't come loose, and that's what I love about them the most for aircraft. And you can put, you're not supposed to have any sealant on them, but you can on some places if I'm really worried about, or it's a super high vibration area. Way back on the threads, you can just put thread sealant, and I just use the thread sealant. It doesn't seal crap. It just makes that nut almost like a really soft glue, and it just won't work its way off in vibration. But they wind up making really good, stiff lines, and these swivel. You can get good swivel heads on them. Just all kinds of stuff you can't do with pipe threads, and they make complex turns and stuff. The bonus is it's probably the fastest way to build a fuel system, or an oil system, but it is one of the best. As far as everything staying connected, and you can just do everything under the sun. See, this is an orb fitting. This is a European redundant fuel pump system, so it uses a metric orb fitting, and with AN fittings you can get anything. So this is an orb going to an AN6, and then this is a racing coarse fuel filter. There will be a fine fuel filter up in the engine compartment. This is just really coarse, and it's cleanable and removable. And so that's what's nice, is to clean this out. Once you drain everything out, you can shut this off and you can clean out your fuel system really easily. So you can see the flare there, and there's a flare on the inside of these that corresponds to that. So I just use two different colors here so you can essentially see what they are, but it's just Army-Navy fitting, and it is probably, in my opinion, there's some pretty fancy, super expensive quick connect stuff that they'll use on the big military jets, but I think this is as good as it gets. And I can build these hoses just super quick, and gives you a lot of confidence. Other than the nipple system, which is typically what most experimental aviation, you'll see it sometimes in general aviation too. They just use a hose, nipple, and a clamp, and obviously those do tend to wear out. You're supposed to use blue is a color code for an aluminum fitting. Black is steel in aviation. That's the point of the different colors. But yeah, I mean, this whole thing, it just makes it, with that braid, that armored hose, it keeps it from kinking, so this hose can't get pinched or collapsed, but it makes your whole system just nice and rigid. Yet if anything was to break, as you saw, this stuff is super flexible, so it won't snap. Hard fuel lines, a lot of guys, that they kind of for some reason, will tend to revere that like a hard aluminum line, but I don't know why compared to these, other than the fact that they can handle all of the fuel types. Those rigid lines, you know, they can work harden, and even if they don't, any type of little hiccup or crash, they just, and they typically come loose at the fittings. They are really strong and they are super great for rigidity, but in a way these have a rigidity of their own, yet they're flexible. So if any of this stuff comes busting loose, like, you know, God forbid there was any type of crash, this fuel line's not getting cut. It'll just bend and do whatever. So other than a hard fuel line, so you don't have to worry about fuel spilling everywhere. That's a big deal, especially in the wings. But even, you know, right here, this is under your seat.